Welcome. Thank you for coming today. My name is Jules, and before we get started, how would you both like to be addressed?
I'm Charlie.
Charlie? Can you spell that for me, please?
CHARLIN.
Okay.
Jordan's fine.
Jordan, can you spell that for me?
Jordan.
Okay. So I'm a professionally trained mediator for the New Orleans Community Mediation Center. And I'd like to start off by just talking a bit about how we approach mediation, and then we'll discuss the interaction that brought you here today. So mediation is voluntary, non-judgmental, and confidential. Voluntary means that we're all here at our own free will and can end the process at any time. You won't be forced to do anything that you don't want to in this process, and you won't be forced to agree to anything that you don't want to. We are non-judgmental, so our job as mediators is to listen, ask questions, and try to clarify what's important to everybody here. We won't give advice, we don't decide who is right or wrong, and we don't take sides. And mediation is confidential, so nothing is recorded on any device. You may see us taking notes, and we do destroy those notes after this session. And we don't file any reports about what you said, and we don't testify at any hearings. We do maintain confidentiality except for issues of child abuse, abuse of vulnerable adults, and credible threats to do bodily harm. Those are things that we may not keep confidential. So this means that all the discussions in this mediation and the conversation you've had with mediation program staff will stay private. Before we begin, we will acknowledge this in writing by signing this confidentiality form. I'm going to just read it out loud and then pass it around for everybody to sign. So in the matter between the participants, Charlie and Jordan, the participants understand that the mediators are not legal advisors and are not providing legal advice to any party. 2, the participants and support persons agree that all proceedings during the mediation process, including any statements made or documents prepared for the mediation procedure by any participant or other support person, may not be disclosed for any purpose except that the participants may discuss.
I need to stop you real quick. So Charlie has talked about potentially suing me and stuff before, so I just want to make sure that whatever happens here is not going to be able to be used to sue me.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got some concerns about suing, that's something that's been a part of the conflict before, is that right?
I mean, that was one of the last things that was brought up when we talked, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm protected here, because I certainly do want to resolve what's going on between us, but I also don't want to leave myself,
So sounds like resolution is something that's important to you here.
Sure.
And just feeling protective, concerned about what might happen in the future regarding
Right, making sure, that this stays here and that this isn't going to be able to, and nothing said here will be able to be used against me in the future.
Okay. Well, so what the confidentiality agreement says is that none of this would be shared in any sort of judicial or administrative hearing. So everything said in the room is confidential.
Okay.
Does that
And I was just upset, so I'm not trying, that's why I came to do mediation. Because I decided that I didn't want to sue you, so I would try mediation.
Okay, we're here. I'm ready to go. Thank you.
So Charlie, sounds like you're feeling willing to participate in the mediation process.
Yeah, I'm here, that's why I came.
And when we get to step, I'm going to explain this in a minute, but I'll explain the process, but in just a minute after we finish sort of talking about the process itself and any of the confidentiality issues, then you will have a chance to share everything that brought you to the incident, including any of the concerns about suing and everything that led you here today. So any statement made by either participant during the mediation shall not be used by any participant or support person in any later judicial or administrative proceedings related to this dispute, or be used as a basis for discipline or recommended discipline of the subject participant. The participants, number 4, the participants understand that pursuant to RS 9-4112B2, The mediator is not subject to subpoena and cannot be required to make disclosure for later judicial or administrative proceedings related to the dispute, including any disclosure of documents, records, communications, or otherwise submitted to the mediator, except pursuant to a court order. The mediator may disclose whether the participants appeared, whether the mediation took place, and whether a settlement resulted therein. Number 5, the participants understand that the mediator may stop the mediation at any time. Number 6, the participants agree and understand that the mediator will participate in anonymous surveys to provide information, and data gathered will be compiled in the aggregate and is solely for research and program effectiveness and evaluation purposes. So I'm just going to sign here. Today's date is the 15th of November. And I'm just going to pass it to my right, and then if after you sign, you can pass it to your right, please. And then I'll make copies after the mediation session for both of you. And we'll maintain a copy also in the center if you ever need it in the future. So I'm going to take a few minutes just to explain the mediation process and make sure that everyone understands the process we'll be using. On the wall, and then also on the table here in front of you, we have the steps of the mediation process. So you can refer to that at any time during the mediation if you're wondering where we are. So first in step 1, where we are right now, explaining mediation. Then in step 2, you'll tell us what brought you here, and I will ask questions to get clarity about what's important to you and what you would like to discuss in mediation. Then in step 3, we'll make a list of all the topics that are being discussed. Then after that, in step 4, we'll brainstorm solutions to the topics and make a plan about moving forward. You may reach an agreement. You may just get a better understanding of each other and your situations, what you might do differently in the future, and what your choices are. You may see me referring to my notes and guide throughout the mediation, and this is just to allow consistency and a quality of process in each of our mediations. We have up to 2 hours for this session. We may end sooner. It's fairly common to think during the mediation that it's not going anywhere, and while it can seem that way, creative possibilities may still emerge. So we do ask that you consider hanging in there until we all agree that it's time to stop. If you ever need a break at any point, just let me know. Bathrooms are down the hall to the left, and smoking is allowed 50 feet from the building outside. Any questions at this point before we move on to step 2? Okay. So at this point, step 2, information gathering. I'm going to ask you to both speak about the situation that brought you to mediation, and then I'll ask some questions to make sure that I understand what's being said. So what would you like to discuss in mediation today?
Well, it's your idea to come here. I mean, I'm not, well, I could start, but if, fine. So, Charlie moved in about a year ago, and, it seemed like they were going to be a good neighbor. The kids liked each other, and all that, but it seems like, I don't know, shortly after, it was just one thing after another, beginning with trash showing up near the fence of bordering our properties. I mean, I understand sometimes we got to store some things that we're junking later or whatever, but do I need to see a broken dishwasher and tires? I mean, it's getting like hillbilly heaven out there. So there's that started to annoy me, but I kind of let that go for a little bit because I was like, whatever, it's their property, and let me have a little patience. And Charlie would do nice things like watch the kids. I appreciated that, and the kids were becoming real good friends. Then the grass started getting high. I've had to call the county. You know, I don't like doing all that kind of stuff, but it's you know, things can start living in the high grass. There's snakes and ticks, you know. Kids could get Lyme disease. I'm just, you know, want them to have some good, safe spaces to play in. You know, it's a health hazard out there, and it's getting more, and then it's constant. So it's like once the grass grows, then I have to call again to get it cut the next time. So that's kind of the part of the stuff that I've been dealing with. And then there was the lice incident. The kids showing up with lice, starting, you know, spreading around the whole damn school, of course, including my kids. And then that caused me to, you know, and in theory it's been taken care of, but I still see some of the, from 6 feet away, I can still see some of the little nests and eggs and stuff jumping around in the hair. Now I can't even let my kids play with them to make sure that we don't keep getting lice in our house. And they just, you know, and now I look like a villain, like I'm just being mean, not letting them play with their friends. They don't really get it. I'm just trying to, you know, keep everything together in a good way. And it's really coming to a head too, because I mean, just recently, so the boys playing with the ATVs, the 4-wheeler thing, riding them around. There's, you know, some trails and stuff, and they done tore the damn trails up with these ATVs so bad that my little one broke her ankle because the trails was all jacked up and she slipped in. I mean, if it wasn't on public property, I would have been the one suing. Anyway, I mean, that's kind of, that's where I'm at now. I'm just really fed up with all of that, and I just want a nice place to live. I really don't want to have to move or anything because of one neighbor. You know, I thought we might be friends at first, but now I'm not sure. I'm at the end of my rope here. You know, and that's how we ended up having our little argument last time we saw each other. So that's kind of, that's what I got for right now.
Thank you. Charlie, what would you like to discuss in mediation?
Well, I guess some of the same things. You know, I just moved to this neighborhood. I've only been there about a year with my 2 children. I'm a single parent. You know, and I thought this was a great move. Initially, it seemed like it was going to be a really good move for us. We quickly became friends with Jordan and their children, and we assisted each other with the kids, babysitting, and the kids were often at my house, and mine were often at their house. And it was a great start. I too thought that we were developing a really good friendship. You know, I was when I first moved here, I was just starting a new job and on a lot of new medications, and just moving into a new house. It's just been a really big transition for me and my children. And so, I mean, I haven't been able to keep up with everything around the house. It's difficult. I find it really difficult to get things done, but now that things have kind of settled quite a bit, like I've started getting the house together and unpacking. I've unpacked all my boxes, and you know, I'm just really looking forward to working towards my early retirement with the military. So things are, you know, there's some things that's out of order, but you know, things take time to get together. Something that you probably don't know is that I lost my partner a year ago before I moved here, and so I've just been dealing with all of those things. I don't talk to a lot of people about it. And I was just trying to really get a fresh start, and it seems that that just wasn't in the cards for me, because I'm being harassed. My children are being harassed. They are riding their ATVs, and I know, I mean, it's clear grass in that area. It's a safe area for them to ride their ATVs. And I know that, you know, it's caused some problems for people in the neighborhood, but I just think if you're careful when you're walking around, you know, if the grass is gone, if it's a hole here or there, just watch where you're going. And I don't know what I don't see what the big deal is.
My 9-year-old broke her ankle.
Well, I mean, you just have to be careful. It's a grassy area. Everybody, I mean, you can wear the grass down just from lots of people walking on it.
But did they have to go out there right after it rained?
What
And tore it up even that much more? Yeah, and you're supposed to,
kids.
Well, can you help them with
outdoors. That? It's like outdoors, it's grass. I mean, it'll grow back. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, you just watch
my daughter breaking her ankle, I think that's a big deal.
Well, I think breaking her ankle is a big deal, but the fact that the trail has...
If the trail wasn't jacked up like that, she wouldn't have broken her ankle. It was a fine, nice trail, and I ain't got nothing wrong with the riding of the ATVs. Just, you know, we gotta keep it together so that stuff like this doesn't happen. That was real upsetting. She was, you know, she likes to be active. She's 9 years old. She wants to run around and stuff.
I was really sorry to hear that happened.
And I'm sorry to hear about your partner too.
Oh, thank you for that. You know, but I really haven't. I don't appreciate all that's been going on. I feel like my family's been shunned, and just shamed because of, you know, I think mainly because of things you're telling people in the neighborhood. You're not letting the kids play together anymore.
Hey, I don't like doing that. I don't like having to be, you know, the bad guy, but I can't keep having to wash the lice out of their hair.
Well, I mean that happens. We all know that happens. But I've cleaned the children up very well.
It's probably coming from that yard.
I mean, I don't see it, you know, the upkeep of the yard in the way that you do. It takes a lot of work doing that. I'm disabled. I can't get around the way that everyone else does. I really actually need some assistance with it, but that's not my main priority. Is the upkeep of the yard is not my main priority. I have a lot to do, like you said.
I mean, you should at least raise it on your list because it's pretty bad out there. And there's snakes and ticks. It's another health hazard, and we got a lot of kids. I mean, this is a nice kid-friendly neighborhood, and with that yard, it's like we got a little wild area where just anything could come out of there.
I just think you should have a little more consideration. You know, and you see that I'm dealing with a disability that
I've had patience. It's a year in now.
And I've gotten some things in order, and I'm going to get around to taking care of the rest of it. But it takes time. It takes some time. I need a little extra help around me. It's just me and the children. And all of this that's going on between us isn't making it get any better. It's only making it harder. Now our children don't have the friends they had. Even the kids at school aren't wanting to play with them. Other parents are keeping their kids away because of things, lies and rumors you're spreading. I know that it's coming from you. You know, and you're making people think.
I wasn't the only one affected. It was starting a school-wide epidemic. It ain't all coming from me.
Like you can see, and that's sitting in their head. It's not that bad. I've cleaned them up very well, and you're just making, you know, things worse.
Thank you. I'm just going to take a minute to make sure that I'm understanding what's been said so far, and just check in first with you, Jordan, and then with you, Charlie. So, Jordan, I think what I heard you say was that you're feeling annoyed about when it comes to the cleanliness around the yard.
I mean, I was annoyed about 3-4 months ago. Now I'm getting downright pissed about all this stuff, about, you know, especially after the last straw was really my daughter breaking her ankle. I know that that's not the yard, but that it's all tied together with, you know, dealing with this neighbor. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I think what I'm hearing you say is that you care a lot about the neighborhood, about your home, and the safety of your children, safety and health of your kids, feeling protective of them. Is that right?
Yeah, you're damn right.
And feeling concerned about some of the issues around the ATVs, looking for safety of the trails and of your daughter that you appreciate.
They need to be kept up so that we can all use them. You can't just go tearing up the public trails. You know, obviously it's a hazard.
So feeling concerned about the trail maintenance when it comes to the ATVs. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I think I heard you say feeling vilified when it comes to what happened with the lice. That you care a lot about cleanliness and and the health of your children.
You know, kids gonna be dirty and stuff. That's part of, running around out there. But we gotta help them out by keeping our yards up and making sure that we get rid of all the lice. We can't have them out there spreading these things around.
Let's pause for a minute.
Apparently the lights agree with me.
Okay. And I think I heard you say earlier, feeling appreciative of the relationship that your children have